Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 3rd, 2022 Plan Commission meeting. The first thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have roll call, please?
Sure. Holtkamp.
Here.
LaRue.
Here.
Moody.
Here.
Odine.
Here.
Prendergast.
Here.
Woolsey.
Here.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the April 7th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting.
So moved. Yeah.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, public comments. Do we have any comments from the public? That will move along. First on our agenda is the resolution to approve the final plat for Highview Meadows 7th edition. Planner Sam Burns is going to tell us about this.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair. The first item on the agenda tonight is the Highview Meadows 7th edition. The final plat for Highview Meadows 7th has been submitted by Kings Highway LLC. The preliminary plat for the whole Highview Meadows development was first approved in 2003. The final plat has 28 single-family units with a density of 2.7 units per acre. This is the 7th and final phase of the Highview Meadows development. As I said, phase 7 will consist of 28 single-family homes on 10.23 acres. Staff has reviewed the plat and found it consistent with the preliminary plat, comprehensive plan, and all relevant ordinances. Staff recommends forwarding the enclosed resolution to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. Any questions?
Great. Does anyone have any questions? I think it's nice that 20 years in the making, we're finally filling it in. I'll entertain a motion.
I move for the resolution to approve the final plat for Highview Meadows 7th edition.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you. And next, we have a resolution to approve the specific implementation plan, or SIP, for Dawes Place Phase 2. Planner Kendra Elner will tell us about this one.
Okay. Good evening again, Plan Commissioners and Chair. So tonight, the presentation we will discuss applicant T-Bucks Inc.'s specific implementation plan for Dawes Place Phase 2. So I will provide some background information on the overall development. In 2005, there was an approved GDP for the area for what was considered Highview Meadows First Edition PUD, where the development was partially built out. However, there was a lapse in time for the project, so another GDP was presented and approved by Plan Commission and Council in February of 2021. So that GDP was to incorporate and replace the Highview Meadows First Edition PUD with a new proposal as Dawes Place. The development was not a departure from the original 2005 GDP, as the area has always been intended for multifamily units. So the 2021 GDP was to include 112 units within 14 buildings split up into 2 phases. So phase 1 has been approved and is currently being constructed. Phase 2 is being brought forth tonight as a final step for development review and is to complete the entire Dawes Place development. So pictured here is the approximate site location of the SIP for phase 2. It's encompassing the northern section of the overall Dawes Place development. So the second phase consists of 5.75 acres for the construction of the final 8 buildings, encompassing 70 units total. The building sizes will vary with 3 8 units, 3 10 units, 1 12 unit, and 1 4 unit building. Each unit will contain 3 bedrooms, an attached 2-car garage with a driveway for 2 additional vehicles shown in the rendering. So the image on the left is Phase 2 section of the approved 2021 GDP for Dawes Place, and the image on the right is the proposed SIP superimposed on the site to illustrate the modifications from the GDP. They are circled in red. So those changes include building style and just road connections. So the larger circle on the left of the maps show the 12-unit building, which has been replaced by townhome style units, and the additional access road has been removed. And then the small circle on the right of the map shows the private road that will actually connect to Meadows Drive, improving the circulation and emergency access. So the modified SIP retains the same number of units that was proposed in the approved GDP. So the SIP presented is the final phase of the development review process, where detailed engineering specifications are reviewed to ensure all municipal code requirements are met. Staff has reviewed the SIP and plans for Dawes Place Phase 2 and found it to be consistent with the approved GDP with only minor engineering adjustments. So staff is recommending that Plan Commission forward the enclosed resolution to City Council with a favorable recommendation. And if recommended for approval tonight, it will move on to City Council on May 24th. So I'll turn it back to you, Commissioners, for any questions.
Any questions for Kendra?
Not directly related to this project per se, but what are the plans? I guess it'll come out in the bike ped plan for connecting, since we're putting so much multifamily and stuff out on that kind of east side of Division. Are there ideas for connection, like bike trails or sidewalks and stuff through like Division Street or down to the rest of the community to connect that?
I'm not quite sure.
There is a connection.
Is there a
Isn't
bike
there
trail out there?
connecting trail? Yeah, there's a tunnel that goes underneath.
Yeah, and it actually goes underneath the highway to
Okay.
Hoffman Park.
Someplace, okay.
So you can ride your bike from Highview Meadows to
Okay.
a child.
Sorry,
yeah. That's okay.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Great.
I have, is a representative of T-Buck here?
Yes.
And I think it was it Travis? Go ahead.
Come on up and state your name, please.
Yes, my name is Sean Bohan. I'm an engineer with Advanced Engineering Concepts. Trevor is not here, or Jordan is not here this evening, but I can end up answering or taking any questions that the commission may end up having back.
So it would have been Trevor, sorry. I have a nephew named Travis, and so NETR is a Travis.
That's okay.
When Trevor was up here, I had asked questions with regard to energy efficiencies, high level of insulation, that kind of thing. And he believed that all those things would be adopted into this development. So are you guys using, I know there's not going to be, at the time, no solar panels were planned, but is there an idea going toward high efficiency appliances, low flow toilets and showers, and insulation?
I would have to end up deferring to him and to the architects. I'm not sure. Do you guys end up having a phone line hooked up? I thought maybe Jenny Plachik with Wendell
Okay.
might have been calling in, and she's the architect on it, so she might be able to answer that question if she's online right now.
Thank you, Sean. This is Jenny Plachik with Wendell Companies. I was trying to unmute and it wouldn't let me. My apologies for not being in person tonight. I have another meeting at 7. But yes, regarding the energy efficiency as part of this project, Phase 1 and Phase 2, we did take into account higher efficiency mechanicals, a higher level of insulation to just help with that whole energy efficiency component.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I entertain a motion.
Move to approve the resolution for Highview Meadows?
For
Dawes Place, sorry. Dawes Place.
Second?
Second.
Okay, great. A first and second to approve the resolution to approve the specific implementation plan for Dawes Place. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the ordinance regarding the annexation of certain property, change of future land use, and application of a temporary zoning classification for the subject property. Emily Shively will talk to us about this.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Emily Shively, River Falls City Planner. And a unanimous petition for annexation has been submitted by Mary Thompson. She's the managing member of the Thompson Family LLC for approximately 43 acres adjacent to Paulson Road and Radio Road on the far north end of the city. Plan Commission's role in annexations is to provide the City Council with a recommendation on the land use and zoning aspects of the proposed annexation. There are two main criteria in the ordinance for evaluating annexation petitions. The first is the property contiguous to the city? And second, is the proposed land use compatible with adjacent land uses? For the first criteria, the answer is yes. So the subject properties are outlined here in blue, and the thick black line shows the city boundaries. So it's kind of unusual up in this area of the city where the city boundary extends along the right-of-way of Paulson Road and then a little ways up Radio Road. So these two parcels are adjacent to that right-of-way. Regarding compatibility, currently both parcels are vacant land with some topography at the wooded areas of the parcels. We have 3 different housing developers who are anticipating developing the properties for residential uses with varying housing types and densities from twin homes to rental townhomes and multifamily apartment buildings. The future residential development may have an overall density of approximately 8 to 15 dwelling units an acre. The parcels are adjacent to residential and recreational uses currently, and residential development is anticipated to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. So while the properties are currently outside of the city boundary, the 2005 Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map designated those parcels for future industrial development. This designation was applied prior to the city's acquisition of the Man Valley area, which is over 200 acres and planned for industrial and corporate park. Further, there are still developable parcels for industrial uses in the Sterling Ponds Corporate Park and the Whitetail Ridge Corporate Park in close proximity to the proposed annexation area. So we've got Sterling Ponds up here, Whitetail Ridge here, and then Man Valley is just a little ways further south on Radio Road. So staff is supportive of changing the future land use designation of the proposed annexation area from industrial to high density residential to accommodate residential development on the subject parcels. A temporary zoning classification must also be applied to the annexation area when it's brought into the city limits. There is currently no zoning classification in this area as they're located outside of the city's extraterritorial zoning area. So here we see the zoning classifications within the city, and then these parcels are currently outside of the city, but the city has extraterritorial zoning authority, and so we have zoning designations for those parcels, but the subject parcels do not have a zoning designation. So staff is recommending designating the parcels R3 multiple family high density residence district consistent with the recommended future land use classification to allow for residential development. So in conclusion, staff review of the proposed annexation has found that it is contiguous with city boundaries, and the anticipated future use of the property is considered to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. So staff is recommending that the Plan Commission forward the request to council with a favorable recommendation. So with that, I would be happy to address any questions you may have.
Any questions from Lee?
I have a few. Of the recitals, I don't know what page this is, but number D, it says the city has considered the advice received from the Department of Administration. Did we receive any advice from the Department of Administration?
They did review the request for annexation, and they just wanted to comment on the contiguity, making sure that we understood that it's really just that right-of-way, that it's contiguous.
And has there been any opposition voiced to doing this?
We have not received any comments.
Okay, and then the last one I have has to do with taxes to the town of Troy. We're agreeing to pay the town of Troy 5 years an amount equal to the property taxes, which is obviously statute. But what are the property taxes? What are we agreeing to pay for the next 5 years?
So we would be agreeing to pay the taxes that are currently assessed for the property as it is today, so in the year of annexation. So that gets locked in for the next 5 years. As the parcels develop, any taxable value above that, the city will collect. So
And
the town is basically kind of held harmless for 5 years as the transition period, but the city can begin to acquire any new taxes.
And
based on
what's that
development.
amount?
I do not have that right now.
Okay.
But that's the amount paid by the property owner in
Correct.
taxes,
Yep,
correct?
which
So,
is currently being
uh,
assessed to the town of Troy.
to the town of Troy. So they would continue, well, it might pass through the city, but they would,
Yes.
the township would continue to get that.
That's correct.
And what does temporary zoning classification? How temporary is temporary?
So temporary is until we have a development proposal. So if the development proposal is consistent with R3, then as that comes through, we will apply that as permanent zoning. If they come through and request a PUD, for example, and want some modifications from the R3, we would apply the PUD as an overlay district to the R3 at that time.
Okay. That is
But
all
I guess a question related to that is the flexibility of, could it change to industrial? Could somebody come along and then offer that? I mean, we have it set as temporary, but what are the rules or policies guiding a change now that it's in city limits?
So it would go through the same process as a regular rezoning. So we would need to be looking again at the future land use map. So we're also applying a future land use category to the property as we bring it into the city, and that's going to be a change from industrial to high density residential. So if they wanted to change back to industrial once it's in the city, we would go through, a comprehensive plan process and then a rezoning process if we wanted to turn it back to industrial at that time. That's not anticipated, but that's the process that would be followed.
So given that the existing future land use plan has it classified as industrial, do we have to technically update the future land use map to reflect that we're doing this? Because I thought, doesn't zoning have to be sort of complementary of the future land use map? Or there's no, I know there's no super strict regulations there, but they're supposed to sort of align with one another. So do we need to have any process to update the future land use map to reflect the change we're making tonight?
So the answer is yes, and that process is the annexation ordinance.
Okay, so it goes with
Yep. Yep, so that will change the future land use classification and also apply that temporary zoning.
And I'm assuming accessing this property is going to be off of Paulson Road, not off of Radio Road or the highway.
So it will definitely not be accessed off the highway.
Okay.
Primary access will probably be off of Paulson Road. We haven't received a full concept plan, particularly for the west portion of that south parcel where multifamily is proposed. So I don't know if that access will be kind of internal and off of Paulson Road, but there's the roundabout there. And so we'll be taking that into consideration with access as well.
To me, it seems more suited for industrial than for residential, but I'm not in the housing market, so I'm not looking for a house.
Chair Odine?
Yes.
I did just quickly look up the taxes, and it looks like it's around $30,000 a year for all of the parcels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And related to the residential development, and I've kind of got it in my mind that we're adding residential development, and we have certain classifications for that, and the meter is going up because we want it to, based on the plan we have. We have shortage of certain kinds of housing. I'm just trying to get a gauge of what if the inventory is grows from another development like this. At what point are we in pretty good shape then? I mean, this adds units, could potentially add units. We don't know what those look like, but do you feel confident we're getting the numbers up after these last few years where we were having a deficit or a shortage of the kind of housing, and does this get us kind of even finally? If this is a, kind of crystal ball thing, I don't know.
I think this is getting us more of the type of housing we were severely lacking.
Okay,
I think we still need quite a bit more housing.
okay.
Yeah, I haven't gauged the numbers from this development against our housing numbers. We track those with every development that comes in, but I haven't looked at them recently. I would say standing today, we are lacking in every category.
Okay.
So this may get us close in these categories. We can take a look at that, but I would venture to say we're probably not over. I would also say there was a 2018 study that we are looking to potentially update here in the near future and get some better numbers on again. So, yeah.
I agree with Patricia. My impression is this is better suited for industrial, but as you stated, we have parcels now that have been, that could be suitable for that, obviously. So
I do have kind of a speculative question. Do you have any idea if there's anything planned for the parcels to the north of this? I know there've been from time to time discussion of additional housing developments, along 35. So just wondering if this might spark some.
Are you talking about the area across the highway over here or to the kind of northwest?
Kind of to the northwest. It's outside the city limits.
Yeah. We haven't received any interest or inquiries that I'm aware of for that area at this time.
Okay, just curious. Thank you. Any other questions for Emily? Great, thank you very much. And may I have a motion?
Well, that's a mouthful. I move for the approval of the ordinance regarding the annexation of certain property, change of future land use and application of a temporary zoning classification for the subject property.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We've got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, we'll appear before City Council. Okay, next we have the director's report. Our Director Amy White.
Thank you. Let's see what we've got. So just an update on our planning processes, Focus River Falls. So as far as the comp plan process, we will have a meeting May 19th. So hopefully that is on your calendar. Again, I believe that's the third Thursday that we had set for those. And we'll be working on goal and priority development at that meeting. For the bike ped plan, we're hopefully going to get some good weather and we might be able to do our tours in May. They were canceled last month, sorry. And that group is currently working on plan analysis for that project. The outdoor rec plan is also planning for a meeting at Park Board on May 18th, and they'll be finalizing the inventory and refining goals. So, much to my surprise, Pet Mayor was a huge success. We now have well over 600 folks that have registered on Engage RF. See, this is why I am not in charge of social media at the city. But we've got great staff that came up with the idea and forwarded it. So really happy with those participation numbers on Engage RF, and hopefully those 600 will continue to engage as the process goes forward as far as the comp plan and the other processes as well.
So who's the new mayor? Which critter won?
So I don't remember the name, but it's the sugar glider. Gordy.
What's a sugar glider?
Kind of a little marsupial.
Okay.
It's like a flying squirrel.
Is it a native thing?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yes.
If I may ask, whose idea was the Pet Mayor?
It was Sam or Kendra.
To say that we came up with the idea, we borrowed the idea from a city in Texas that had similar similar engagement numbers as a result. Yeah, it was just a good idea, you know.
Excellent.
Yeah, so.
It's delightful. Thank you. Are there any plans to have events with our pet mayor?
We haven't fully discussed that yet.
Okay.
Nor have we fully discussed it with the mayor, I don't believe.
Sugar gliders are inherently nocturnal animals, if I'm correct. But the owner has was really excited to be part of the process, and so certainly said they'd be interested in participate in any other engagement events we have going forward. So fingers crossed.
That would be fun.
River Falls Days. Have a booth.
All right. So I was just going to give some updates on sections of the report. So from the planning, zoning, building inspections, and code enforcement side, obviously there's a number of development projects that you've been seeing coming through that staff has been working on. We anticipate that you'll see the code enforcement ordinances coming through next month, hopefully. We've also been working on the wayfinding implementation for this year. Kendra's been working on some park surveys. And we've seen an uptick in both the building permit and fencing permits as we're starting to get into some of the better weather for the year. So, and last month, building inspection staff held a contractors meeting. We do this typically, like to do it every 2 years. However, it had been 2 or 3 since COVID. So this was inviting the contractors in just to give them updates on code sections for building permits and keep them up to speed on building in the city. So we had just over 20, I think, attend that event at the West Wind, which was good. Just an update on Historic Preservation Commission. If you haven't been watching some of the information come through from them, I just get excited about this. So this is a draft that you're seeing on the bottom of the slide here, of a sign that they have put together to replace the brown and yellow sign that is on the Glen Park side of the swinging bridge. So that will come down and this potentially will go up. Again, it's a draft, so there may be some modifications yet, but really awesome work bringing together photos and maps so that folks standing there can get a real idea of what used to be there. So just exciting to see that coming this year. And then they are also working on some more pictures for the inside of Glen Park Pavilion. And I think their plan is to work on additional signs like this that could go along the Kinnickinnick Trail system as well. So good stuff coming out of HPC. On the economic development side, the Sycamore River Falls groundbreaking was last week, so staff and others attended that. The River Falls EDC meeting happens every month, and staff takes care of those duties as well. And the Community Venture Network was attended by Economic Development Manager Schreiner. That is a group that works on rural development in communities. So businesses come there, the communities come to hear from the businesses, and we get leads that way on businesses that are looking to potentially build or relocate. So engineering has a long list. I really only included 2, and if Todd was here, I'm sure he'd be giving me the eye, but the North Interceptor Sewer Project is going full steam. The Powell Avenue Bridge is closed for just about a month, hopefully less, but that is closed for this month. And the North Water Tower bid was approved by council, so that project will get underway here shortly. And lastly, I did send out an email on some training opportunities. So haven't talked with the commission recently, but there is $1,000 in the community development budget for Plan Commission training. So if there are these trainings or the conference that I had sent out, the APA conference for Wisconsin that you're interested in, we can entertain some of those opportunities. I think it's probably been 4 years since we had the Center for Land Use Education come to River Falls and do a Plan Commission training. I think at that time they also did Board of Appeals training. So that's something that we can entertain in the future as well, if you're interested in that. So if you're interested, let's chat maybe after the meeting, or you can always email me. These are coming up soon, so May 3rd.
Was today.
That was today.
One I wanted to go to. I'm like, not gonna make it.
Okay. So yes, they are coming up real quick here. So let's chat if you're interested. So, you have any questions other than what I've covered? I'm happy
Any
to
questions
take
for Dr.
those.
Peterson?
The Powell Street closure is not for the bridge to be fixed, correct?
Correct.
So that will happen in a second stage.
Correct. Yes.
And I see internally you meet with the Kinney Corridor meetings. Is that the Kinney Corridor Collaborative, or is that just a generalized Kinney Corridor?
That probably is the Kinney Corridor Collaborative.
Okay, and how are those? Are we moving on things?
We are moving.
Good, good.
Things. Yes, in fact, I believe the collaborative met I was on vacation last week, but I believe the collaborative got together and did a site tour. And we had met with them just the week prior to that. So yes, things are moving along.
Good.
Yeah.
Any update on the timeline for the sidewalk on Kennedy going to Wells Park?
I believe we are still waiting on the design on that.
I just want to know when to be out of town so I don't have to deal with construction on
Oh.
my street. So.
I don't know the date, but I can find out and let you know.
Not a big deal. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I think it'll be good to have that.
Yes, good.
Is there questions? Great, thanks. Sounds like a busy summer.
Yes, thank you.
Well,
May I make a motion for adjournment?
yes, you may.
Second.
Motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.